is what we're going to call this video. And it's Wednesday, Winsday. But what do you have to do to get to a win? What do you have to do? You have to work for it. You have to have it in consciousness, the belief. Then you have to have faith, because that's a mystery when you're growing through it, the practice and development. And then the win is like a miracle, So it's a magic, mystery, and miracles. It's belief, faith, and trust, and knowing who you are. And so I have a program. My name is Stacy Renee. And I have a program, the Self-Trust Reset. Ask me about it, okay? But let's talk about it first. What the Self-Trust Reset is, and what I've been talking about, is if you join me on Facebook, I'll try to do a lot of free things so that people can, learn. Because whether or not you can afford to do it, whether have a coach, you may not be there yet. There was a time when I wasn't there yet. And the videos, that I learn a lot from videos. So you can learn a lot from videos. So I hope that this video is helpful for you. And if you feel like it is, please subscribe and share if you think it's going to help somebody else. So, first off, and learning how to trust ourselves. Anybody out there not trust themselves? Sometimes we think all I can do is trust myself, but do we really trust ourselves? Are you second guessing? Do you say I trust myself and then second guess? Because this is not in alignment. When people are always talking about alignment, it's not just a woo-woo thing. It's like, if you're thinking one way and feeling another way, that's not in alignment. Your thoughts and your feelings have to be gathered there together. And we're always going to have goals. You can think of it if you have a goal that you're a failure because but sometimes the reason that we think this is we have more focus on the not winning, right? Thinking we're a failure. But that's a perception that has been deeply ingrained, embedded, and implanted in your growth system, whether it was childhood or adulthood. Maybe you've had something that was a catastrophe. So what this does is it causes your central nervous system to be on high alert, high alert, high alert. And then you may catastrophize. And so those catastrophize sometimes are lies. Now, I'm not going to say you did not have a catastrophe. But what, is it's just to be conscious and aware of when you're catastrophizing, when you're going back to the past and those fears, because that's what's trained our central nervous system, our autonomic system, ganglia chains, to just go, back to the past, the being prepared, expecting the worst, hoping for the best and expecting the worst. This is how I'm talking about not being in alignment, because why would you do that? When we get in the present moment with the breath, and I teach, in my coaching, holistic ways to cope with things rather than things outside of ourselves to bring us comfort, is that we kind of find that comfort within, because that's part of trusting yourself. Your words are expressions of your thoughts, and your body language and your actions are expressions of your feelings. So this is what I'm saying is that, sorry, somebody keeps interrupting my talk here with messages. So is understanding how to be in alignment, that your words and your feelings are working together. Not staying stuck in the past. The past is good to build upon, but it's not a place to stay. You don't just, this is why we can't finish things or think I can't finish anything. And there was a time in my life when I was in my addiction when I felt like I couldn't finish anything. I would start a variety of things and then I wouldn't finish it. I started writing a book, y'all, when I was 8 years old. That was even before I picked up in my addiction. But I think that I was picking up the illusions in my addiction. And I definitely had an overreactive central nervous system because of the way that I grew up. I was on high alert many times because we never knew when we were going to take off, and so if you grew up that way too, you're probably on high alert and training your central nervous system so that your feelings aren't always your body's not always trying to react, And I worked security for a while. That turned out to be a gift when I worked security, but I had to learn how to breathe and stay in the present moment. And I did that through my martial arts training. Is that I don't always have to react to anything. So I learned to look in the mirror and to really assess things, assess things in my soul. In this program that I have, they're the pillars of harmony. So we have the ego pillar over here, and then we have the soul pillar over here, and then harmony is the bridge. This is modeled after Stonehenge. The pillars there is the ego, the soul, and then harmony. Harmony with humility and respect. Isn't that what we all want, is respect? But we have to practice and develop that within ourselves first, learning boundaries to respect ourselves. So first off, we have to, awareness is the remover of obstacles. And so first off, we have to become aware of the what, when, where, how, and why. And so this is the pillar of the ego. Why am I in overprotective mode? So we look at that. First we pause, just like I did when I first got into therapy a long time ago. Is the first thing she told me is just to be still, to breathe, to pause. So I never suggest to people to do things I haven't done myself, unless, I don't know how to do it, but I've heard about it. And then sometimes I can suggest that I've heard about it. So anyway, first off, we pause, and that's getting with our breath, because your brain, we all know the brain needs oxygen. We're in trouble if we don't have it, right? But can you imagine if you're conscious? This brings your consciousness of now here, rather than the central nervous system, parasympathetic response system, flight, fight, and freeze. Some people live on flight, fight, and freeze. So being able to be aware of what is happening within our mind and our body and our soul. So with these pillars, the ego isn't all bad. Some people even tell me, I don't have an ego. And it's like, oh yes, you do. And because a lot of people, their perceptions, I talk about perceptions and perspectives. And they're different, because perceptions are what you've seen with your eyes, smelt with your nose, tasted and said with your mouth, heard with your ears, and that's usually what comes out of our mouth, right? And so that data that's in our brain is our perceptions. This is like, oh, I've got to file on this, I've got to file on this, I've got to file on this. These experiences that we've had in the past. When those experiences you've had in the past are running your present, this is why that breath and that pause is important. Because then when we get in that breath and that pause, we can then identify the, what am I feeling? What am I feeling? Sometimes we don't even know what we're feeling. If you're codependent, other people have told you what you thought and how you felt. That's where we have to learn boundaries, is that nobody gets to tell you what you're thinking and how you feel. That's not cool. So being able to learn, what am I thinking? How am I feeling? Is this happening right now? So that you can feel safe, because that's what your central nervous system does, is it works off of you making sure that you're safe. And sometimes people's nervous system is in overdrive. So then we get to explore these feelings and say, isn't this interesting? So we get an interest in ourselves rather than just waiting and expecting things to come. Y'all ever feel like you're playing dodgeball with other people's thoughts and feelings about yourself? So being able to explore what it is that you want, what it is, how you feel, and then we get to move over to the soul pillar, because then you're getting in your mind and your body. Okay, so then when we move to the soul pillar, you're able to approach these things. Now you're letting go of the fear. That's the releasing. That's next on the soul pillar, is we get to release those fears. But we also get to engage with the gifts that the fears gave us. But we can't see the fears until we heal the fears. We can't see the gifts till we heal them. See, so we're not trying to totally get rid of the ego, because there's gifts in the ego part too. So it's like, oh, and if you think that the ego just means that you think you're better than everybody else and that you're arrogant, then that's not it either. Of course, it's, perceptions, perspectives, and I had to learn myself, because I thought the ego was bad, because we associate it with arrogance, cockiness sometimes, and, that It's just a false esteem is all that it is to protect us, is what, we're seeing when we say the ego. It's just that false esteem to protect us. It's that protective shield that we develop around us when we've been hurt, you know. But when we let that shield go and we get in connection, we can move on to our soul. What is my desire? Because your ego gives you your drive. Your soul gives you your direction. And the harmony, the bridge with the harmony, is your gas. Doing what you want to do because you want to do it, and for the betterment of the me and the we rather than the us and the them. The ego works from the us and the them. But the soul works with the me and the we. How can I show up to make this a better place? I can't do everything for everybody in codependence. But what can I do? And how am I going to feel? Considering yourself, because many people that I work with don't even consider themselves. So being able to consider yourself, because you are important. So that's your soul. Your soul is your connection to your source. It's not somebody else's connection. And you don't need to go somebody else's direction. You don't need to go with somebody else's drive. You can drive yourself. So this is where we're growing. We can be going through it, and we will go through it, because this is life on life's terms. That's what I like to call myself, as a life on life's terms coach, because we will be going through it. We're all going to get to experience things and go through it. So we can go through it, then we can grow through it if we choose. And this is where we get to the soul. So like I said, we approach these things and say, isn't that interesting? And then we go to the release. How is this serving me today? If it's not serving me today, I can release it. Control is an issue many people have in the self-defense. Is how can I control this to make myself more comfortable? Because that's what, I specialize in addiction, codependency, and grief. And addiction is about finding comfort, But what I'm trying to teach is how to be comfortable in your own skin, because I've struggled with addiction. I have 28 years clean and sober. I've struggled with codependency. I have 20 years, of having worked on that with myself and others. And I have also experienced with grief with the loss of my son in 2011. So walking through grief with grace. And we're all going to grieve. Some of us have been trained to be codependent, whether we know it or not, because codependent doesn't mean, this is when I talk about perceptions and perspectives. Codependency doesn't mean that you depend on other people. It can even mean that other people depend on you all the time. Did you know that? All right, so then the addiction, if you don't experience addiction yourself, and look, I'm not talking about your hardcore out there on the streets. I'm talking about there is, even in drug addiction, not everybody's on the streets. There are functioning addicts. There are functioning alcoholics, which is kind of the same thing. And then there's also food addiction. There's shopping addiction. There's also addiction to social media, addiction to porn. There's addiction to video games. There's addictions to all kinds of things. So it's not just, it's like what we do to distract ourselves, to find that comfort. Addiction is typically a reward system that turned into a habit that turned into sabotage, that we sit there and do even against our own will, and it's not serving us. So the release is about releasing what no longer serves us, physically, mentally, spiritually, financially, and emotionally. Many addicts will tell you they got a lot more money when they release that. So anyway, let's go on to the next. Then this week I'm going to be talking on Facebook about the reconnect. Reconnecting with ourself, mind, body, and soul, so that we can achieve that harmony, so that we know how to properly give ourselves that drive. What is it that I want? And then the soul, how can I serve? And then the harmony is the me and the we, of feeling comfortable in my own skin from within, having humility, being teachable and reachable. So I'm going to stop with this here. We're going to do the breathing, because this is what I teach in, all of my sessions. First thing is we learn how to breathe and be present. So I'm just going to do 3 with you all this morning. So let's just do the 3. And again, I hope that this has been beneficial and helped you to understand. One of my clients, when I talked about the ganglia chains, the autonomic, cerebrospinal, how your autonomic is your thoughts, and how that affects your cerebrospinal, your feelings, and how that affects your body language and your posture and your health, and how, this works together in our body, Body, mind, and soul. It's all divinely connected and wholly directed. And I mean wholly like WHOLLY, because everybody's just trying to feel whole, right? Whole and in harmony and have peace and joy, real joy. Because I work with so many people who they just want to feel joy, but they're always going, doing this for this family member, doing that for that family member, doing this for this person. Consider yourself. Breathe it in. Just do 3 with me, okay? So let's do this. Breathe in what you want and just fill up your belly. And then hold it for 4 counts if you can, just to be comfortable. And then how does that feel? There's been times, you all are overcomers. There have been times when you have overcome something. Let that be your evidence to give you that drive to move forward rather than the fear. Run in your faith, whatever that be. I'm not going to tell people what to believe. It doesn't have to be religious. Whatever your faith is, have faith in yourself, if nothing else, that you can do this. You have overcome other things. How does that feel when you've overcome something? Learn to feel comfortable with that. Learn to feel comfortable with that, because that's going to give you your perspectives of what because your perceptions are what come in and your perspectives are what go out, and let them be in alignment. And then release any fear and doubt with that out breath. And that's with the mouth open, just releasing gently and slowly. Because look, we all want to intellectualize this stuff and say, okay, I release it, I forgive this, and da-da-da, until this thing happens again. And then we're in the same thing and even more intense, right? So we're just going to release it gentle and slow, because nothing happens like that except, well, there are some things. That's not true. There are some things that happen like that, but healing doesn't happen like that. Okay? So take a deep breath in. Hold it. And release. Breathe in. Hold it. Release. Breathe in. Hold it. Release. You know what? I'm going to go ahead and do 2 more, because 5 really does the trick. Breathe in. Hold it. And release. Breathe. Hold it. And release. So, whoever was here today or watches this later, I appreciate you, and I thank you for, taking the time to watch this. This is the kind of algorithm I'm trying to spread and share, is that we do develop harmony, that we do get into our own bodies, because a lot of things you get concerned about out here, they don't even care about you, So you matter, that's what I'm trying to get you to know, is I don't know you, but I hope that this kind of algorithm will grow. So if you like this, please like and subscribe and share it if you think somebody else will be helped by it. Thank you so much. Much love and appreciation. Thank you so much if you have newly subscribed to my channel. I thank you for you finding this algorithm. Peace. Have a great day. How do I stop it? Let's see. Okay. All right. I got it now.